Elon Musk just became the world's first trillionaire. $1 trillion. That's a 1 followed by 12 zeros. But that's not the shocking part. The shocking part is that your brain cannot actually understand how much money that is. In fact, the same flaw that makes $1 trillion impossible to imagine is costing millions of people money every single day. Ryan didn't believe that. After all, $1 trillion is just a number, a very large number. How hard could it be to understand? So he decided to find out. That was his first mistake. Ryan started with something simple, $1 million. Most people would agree that's a lot of money, a nice house, financial freedom, maybe even early retirement. Then comes $1 billion, 1,000 million. Big, but still understandable. At least that's what Ryan thought. The problem is that our brains treat these numbers like steps on a staircase. A little bigger, then a little bigger again, but that's not what's happening. The jump from $1 million to $1 billion isn't a step, it's a cliff. And the jump from $1 billion to $1 trillion, that's another cliff. So Ryan tried a different approach. Instead of counting dollars, he counted time. Imagine spending $1 every second, no breaks, no sleep, no vacations, just spending money. $1 million would last about 11 days. That seemed reasonable. $1 billion would last about 31 years. Ryan stopped. 31 years? That wasn't just bigger. That was an entirely different reality. Then he looked at $1 trillion. At $1 per second, $1 trillion would last more than 31,000 years. 31,000 years? Let that sink in. The pyramids were built roughly 4,500 years ago. Ancient Rome rose and fell. Entire civilizations appeared and disappeared, and you still wouldn't be finished spending $1 trillion. That's when Ryan realized something. The shocking number wasn't the trillion. The shocking number was already the billion. Because somewhere between $1 million and $1 billion, human intuition completely breaks. But Ryan wasn't done. He wanted something easier to imagine. So he asked a different question. What if Elon Musk spent $1 million every single day? Not $1, 1 million, every day, a mansion today, a yacht tomorrow, a private jet next week, $1 million, every single day. How long would it take to spend $1 trillion? Almost 3,000 years. 3,000 years. Ryan checked the math 3 times. It still didn't feel real, because that's the problem. The numbers are real. Our intuition isn't. Human beings evolved to understand small numbers, 10 people, 100 animals, a few hundred pieces of food. Those numbers mattered. They affected survival. Trillions didn't. So our brains developed a shortcut. Anything extremely large gets thrown into the same category. Really big. $1 billion? Really big. $1 trillion? Really big. Government debt? Really big. National budgets? Really big. To your brain, they're almost the same thing. And that's where things become dangerous. Because this flaw doesn't just affect how we think about trillionaires, it affects how we think about money. Our money. And that's where this becomes a money problem, because the same brain that can't understand $1 trillion can't understand compounding. An 18% credit card interest rate doesn't sound terrifying. An 8% investment return doesn't sound exciting. But compounding doesn't care what feels big. It only cares about time. And time turns small numbers into massive ones. Ask someone if they'd like an 8% annual return. Most people aren't impressed. 8% sounds small, almost boring. But that's exactly the point. Our brains underestimate growth when it happens slowly. Then one day, they look at the result and wonder how it got so large. The force that creates overwhelming debt is the same force that creates extraordinary wealth. And that's when Ryan realized something. The $1 trillion wasn't the story. The story was compounding, because once growth continues for long enough, the numbers stop making intuitive sense. Elon didn't become a trillionaire because he worked 1 trillion times harder than everyone else. He became a trillionaire because he owned things that grew, businesses that grew, assets that grew, ownership that compounded year after year. While most people focus on income, the wealthiest people focus on ownership, and eventually the numbers become so large that they stop making intuitive sense. Ryan started this journey trying to understand $1 trillion. In the end, he failed. Not because he wasn't smart, because no human brain was designed to understand large numbers, but he did learn something more important. The same reason people can't understand $1 trillion is the same reason they underestimate debt, the same reason they ignore investing, and the same reason they misunderstand how wealth is built. Because when it comes to money, the biggest danger isn't bad math, it's trusting your intuition. And intuition breaks long before the numbers reach $1 trillion.